There's been a lot of talk about hybrid mana these days, especially because the Commander's Rules Committee is considering removing the restrictions around deck building with hybrid mana cards. But some of these cards pose questions and issues. Namely, Beseech the Queen and its other counterparts like Spectral Possession, Advice from the Fae, Flame Javelin, and Tower Above. These cards are split mana, but they have either a color that you can pay or 2 colorless mana. And when talking about these, Gavin Verhey said something along the lines of, you could include these in a colorless deck, and you could use Gilded Lotus to pay 3 black in order to cast these spells, which kind of didn't sit well with me. And I kind of want to know what you guys think, because this poses an interesting question. Now, the intent for this change is so that you can run cards that you wouldn't normally be able to run in monocolored decks, because they are multicolored cards by all rules and regulations. So you could run Riz the Redeemed in your monocolored token deck, or you could run Evelyn the Covetous in a mono black deck, or just in a Dimir deck, instead of it having to be Grixis. The issue with Beseech and the other related cards is that you could run these in any deck, even a colorless deck, if the 2 colorless pips are factored into the deck building restrictions as color identity, which I feel like breaks the core of what the intention is with this rules change. They specified that they didn't want to touch Phyrexian mana in this talk and discussion because it is a functionally different thing. The intent was always pay the colored pip or 2 life. While they touched on Phyrexian mana being fundamentally different and not including it in this discussion, I think it applies much in the same way that Beseech does and the other split cards that have colorless options. I think that the ability to pay a specific pip of mana, or alternatively life, for Phyrexian mana, things like Phyrexian Metamorph, or Birthing Pod, or Spellskite, fundamentally is similar to Beseech the Queen and these other cards that have colorless pips in them. I think that the inclusion of these hybrid mana cards with colorless options isn't necessarily in line with the intent of the change that they're trying to push. Therefore, personally, I think that the best possible option that they could go with is to have the hybrid mana be split, but if there is a card that has a hybrid mana pip that is a color and a non-colored option, you could only run that in the deck that the colored pip is, not in any deck since it has a colorless alternative. Having said all that, I'm of the opinion that if Beseech the Queen and these other colorless options get in, then Phyrexian mana should also fall under these guidelines and rules. But what do you guys think? Do you think that hybrid mana pips with colorless options should be allowed in any deck, and Beseech the Queen can go into a red deck, a black deck, a colorless deck? Do you think that the hybrid mana pips in general should be split, or do you kind of dislike the idea? Let me know.